Karoline Leavitt destroys The View, and now the $800 million lawsuit has Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar screaming for mercy. How did things get this bad? Was The View's dominance really about to crumble right before our eyes? What sparked this massive lawsuit, and why is $800 million shaking the very foundation of daytime television? This battle is so much more than just a legal fight. It's a fight for power, and the stakes have never been higher. What happens next is going to leave you speechless. Karoline Leavitt, at just 25 years old, had already become one of the most talked about conservative voices in the media, with her political roots firmly planted in New Hampshire as the communications director for the Republican Party. She quickly became a force to be reckoned with. Known for her sharp intellect and unwavering dedication to her beliefs, Karoline didn't shy away from confronting the mainstream media head-on. From the moment she stepped onto the political scene, her presence was undeniable. Her rise was marked not just by her skills in navigating the political landscape, but by her ability to challenge the dominant liberal ideologies that were shaping the national conversation. What set her apart wasn't just her politics, but her fearlessness in confronting the powers that be. She made waves online and on social media, where her quick wit and no-nonsense approach to issues won her a devoted following. Karoline wasn't content with just being a political figure. She wanted to change the narrative, and when the opportunity arose, she took aim at none other than The View, the undisputed heavyweight of daytime talk television. Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar had been the backbone of The View for years, their voices synonymous with the show's liberal outlook. Whoopi, an EGOT-winning actress and comedian, had spent decades shaping her career by pushing boundaries and offering a strong progressive voice on daytime television. Joy, the seasoned comedian and host, had become a staunch critic of conservative politics, often using her platform to lambast Republican ideologies. Together they formed the perfect liberal powerhouse, fearless, opinionated, and firmly entrenched in the media landscape. For years their dominance was unchallenged, and their reign on the show seemed secure. They had built their careers on being the voices of reason, the gatekeepers of liberal thought, and the ones who could easily dismiss or shut down anyone who didn't share their views. However, all of this began to change when Karoline Leavitt appeared on the show. From the moment she walked onto the set, it was clear Karoline wasn't just there to make small talk. Her calm demeanor belied a fierce determination to make her voice heard. Unlike previous conservative guests, Karoline didn't just accept the narrative put forth by the hosts. Instead, she challenged them with facts, wit, and unwavering conviction. As the conversation heated up, the dynamic shifted. Whoopi and Joy, who were used to dominating the conversation, found themselves on the defensive. This wasn't just another moment of political banter. This was a real clash of ideologies. Karoline wasn't just questioning their ideas, she was dismantling them. Her intelligence and composure left both hosts visibly rattled, and it was clear they had underestimated her. This unexpected confrontation set the stage for what would become a battle for control over the narrative, a battle that would eventually spill into the courtroom. What began as an uncomfortable exchange on national television quickly escalated into something much more significant. Karoline, feeling that her views had been unfairly dismissed, took legal action. The cause? A defamation lawsuit aimed squarely at Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and The View. The lawsuit claimed that Karoline's reputation had been damaged by the way she was treated on the show, arguing that the hosts had not only been dismissive, but outright disrespectful. What started as a mere exchange of words quickly became a full-blown legal battle that no one had seen coming. The stakes were high. The lawsuit, which soon revealed a jaw-dropping $800 million price tag, wasn't just about money. It was about sending a message. It was about Karoline Leavitt asserting herself in a world where conservative voices are often drowned out. For Whoopi and Joy, this wasn't just a legal headache. It was an existential crisis. The $800 million lawsuit wasn't merely about the financial ramifications. It was about damaging their reputation in a public way that could alter the very foundation of The View's dominance. They never expected someone like Karoline, with her calm demeanor and sharp intellect, to launch such a powerful counterattack. The lawsuit would change the game, not only for Karoline but for Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, and The View itself. The legal battle wasn't just a fight for Karoline's honor, It was a battle to reshape the landscape of daytime television, to challenge the dominance of the liberal agenda, and to assert that no one, no matter how powerful, was beyond reproach. As the news spread, the public was divided. Karoline had garnered both fierce support and intense criticism. Some praised her bravery for standing up to the media giants, while others questioned the legitimacy of her claims. Meanwhile, Whoopi and Joy struggled to regain their footing, their once unassailable positions now under scrutiny. The gravity of the situation began to set in. This wasn't just a celebrity feud. This was a tipping point for the future of daytime television. What started as a heated conversation on a talk show had exploded into an $800 million lawsuit, one that would reverberate across the entertainment industry for years to come. The ramifications were just beginning to unfold, and both Karoline Leavitt and the hosts of The View had no idea where the battle would take them next. The initial confrontation that would spark a media storm took place under the bright lights of The View's infamous stage, but no one could have predicted the ripple effects that followed. It all started innocently enough, with Karoline Leavitt, a young, rising conservative star, appearing on the show to discuss the state of American politics. But what began as a typical political debate quickly escalated when Karoline, with cool precision, challenged Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar on their handling of conservative viewpoints. The tension was palpable as Karoline stood her ground, refusing to be intimidated by the show's two most prominent voices. The moment Karoline questioned the liberal narrative that Whoopi and Joy had long championed, something shifted in the atmosphere of the show. The audience, usually so accustomed to Whoopi and Joy's dominant positions, sat in stunned silence as Karoline delivered her arguments with unwavering confidence. What started as a polite exchange quickly spiraled into a confrontation that would set the stage for an $800 million lawsuit. When the dust settled, Karoline made it clear that she wasn't just some guest on a talk show. She was a force to be reckoned with. The media couldn't get enough of the incident, with headlines calling it one of the most heated confrontations in daytime television history. But it wasn't until Karoline filed the lawsuit that the real battle began. The legal documents were filed with a clear message. Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar's treatment of her wasn't just offensive, it was defamatory. The lawsuit demanded a staggering $800 million, claiming that her reputation had been irrevocably damaged by the host's comments. The world watched, and the stage was set for a confrontation that would ripple through the media world. Whoopi and Joy, accustomed to a fortress-like position in the world of television, initially responded with a sense of disbelief. They had dealt with conservative critics before, so why should Karoline Leavitt be any different? Whoopi, with her characteristic confidence, brushed off the lawsuit as a mere nuisance. It's just another conservative attack on free speech, she claimed in an early statement. Joy, not one to back down, echoed the sentiment, mocking Karoline's legal action in a segment on air. She's just another right-wing pundit trying to get attention. This will blow over like all the others, Joy quipped, certain that the lawsuit was little more than a fleeting moment in the media spotlight. But what Whoopi and Joy didn't expect was how quickly Karoline would turn the tables. They thought they were untouchable, but they were about to find out that Karoline wasn't just a political challenger. She was a strategic force to be reckoned with. Karoline, however, wasn't content to just sit back and wait for the legal process to unfold. She went on the offensive, using public statements, interviews, and social media to turn the narrative in her favor. She launched a series of sharp, calculated responses, directly targeting Whoopi and Joy's actions on the show. I didn't just challenge their opinions, I challenged their ability to silence voices they don't agree with, Karoline said in a powerful statement to the press. The media quickly picked up on her remarks, with outlets discussing how the tables were now turned. The View's liberal hosts, once seen as dominant, were now being forced to defend themselves against a public relations nightmare. It was the first real sign that Karoline wasn't just fighting in the courtroom, she was winning in the court of public opinion. Then came the real game changer. Karoline's legal team presented a series of new evidence, undermining The View's credibility in a shocking manner. documents surfaced that hinted at internal communications within the show that suggested Karoline had been deliberately misrepresented during her appearance. The evidence, when made public, was nothing short of explosive. Whoopi and Joy, usually so quick with rebuttals, were now left scrambling. Whoopi, known for her calm demeanor, appeared visibly shaken as reporters peppered her with questions about the growing controversy. Her usual cool was gone, replaced with a sense of unease as the pressure began to mount. Joy, always ready with a snappy comeback, found herself in an unfamiliar position, on the defensive. "This lawsuit is not going away," Karoline stated firmly, making it clear that her legal battle was far from over. "This is about much more than money. This is about holding powerful people accountable for their actions." The emotional intensity was palpable as the media circus escalated. The View's hosts, once seen as the undisputed queens of daytime television, were now caught in a public relations crossfire, and the stakes had never been higher. Shocked, Whoopi's jaw practically dropped as Karoline continued to turn the narrative against them. Humiliated, Joy's sharp retorts faltered as Karoline's legal and media strategies gained momentum. What was once a courtroom battle was now spilling into the public's view, and Whoopi and Joy realized they were fighting for more than just a lawsuit. They were fighting to preserve the reputation they had spent years building. The entire industry was watching. Would Karoline's relentless pursuit of justice break the foundations of The View, or would Whoopi and Joy manage to regain control and crush her efforts? The tension was unbearable, and the war had only just begun. The media frenzy surrounding the $800 million lawsuit between Karoline Leavitt and The View took on a life of its own, spreading like wildfire across every news platform. What initially seemed like a minor legal challenge against two of the most powerful women in daytime television, Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar, soon turned into one of the most talked about scandals in entertainment. The focus shifted dramatically. Headlines screamed, "Karoline Leavitt takes on The View," and The View's empire in danger, leaving Whoopi and Joy scrambling to maintain their ironclad control over the narrative. For years they had been at the top of their game, untouchable, revered. But now cracks were starting to show. The public began to turn. The media no longer presented Whoopi and Joy as the powerful icons of television. Instead, they questioned their actions and motivations. With Karoline's lawsuit shaking the foundation of The View, the shift in public opinion was undeniable. For the first time, Whoopi and Joy were not seen as the two invincible hosts of The View. They were now on the defensive, struggling to maintain their image. The tension grew. Every new development in the case seemed to chip away at their once unshakable confidence. This wasn't just another celebrity feud, it was a legal war with serious consequences. Whoopi, long known for her quick wit and calm under pressure, now found herself visibly rattled. The media started picking up on her unease, and soon social media echoed with speculation. Was she losing control of the situation? Joy, ever the outspoken one, became increasingly defensive, trying to downplay the situation, but the damage was done. The question wasn't just about whether Karoline would win the lawsuit, it was now about the integrity of Whoopi and Joy's reign. As the media spotlight shifted, Karoline Leavitt began to rise. Unlike her opponents, Karoline wasn't just relying on traditional tactics. She had a strategy that was unfolding in the public eye, and it was paying off. Her calculated moves, both in and out of the courtroom, put the pressure firmly on Whoopi and Joy. She used her legal team to its full advantage, while simultaneously making sure the media remained laser-focused on every misstep from the hosts. As the media turned against them, Karoline's underdog status quickly transformed. She was no longer just an outsider challenging the giants. She was the leading force in the battle. Whoopi and Joy's vulnerability became more apparent with each passing day. Karoline wasn't just playing defense, she was constantly moving the goalposts, keeping her opponents on their toes and out of their comfort zone. While Whoopi and Joy tried to manage the fallout, Karoline took charge of her image. Every time she issued a statement or filed a new motion, the media followed with bated breath. She crafted her public image with a careful blend of confidence and restraint, maintaining the upper hand in the court of public opinion. Meanwhile, Whoopi and Joy were fighting for survival, scrambling to maintain their status as untouchable television icons. It was clear that they were no longer in control. Karoline's strategic maneuvers had created a tidal wave of pressure, and it was gaining momentum. The power dynamics were shifting in real time. For the first time, Karoline had become the underdog no one expected to succeed, yet she was emerging as the dominant force in the lawsuit. The View, long established as the pillar of daytime television, was now on the defensive, and it was becoming increasingly difficult for Whoopi and Joy to regain their former dominance. Every move Karoline made kept them one step behind. The turning point arrived like a thunderclap in the middle of what seemed like an already volatile battle. Karoline Leavitt had been steadily gaining ground, but this moment was the one that would turn everything on its head. Whoopi and Joy, once untouchable in the media landscape, suddenly found themselves caught in a shocking twist that no one saw coming. The incident that flipped the power dynamics came from an unexpected direction, a leaked email, one that had been buried under layers of confidentiality and secrecy. This wasn't just a casual slip-up, it was a game-changing revelation that exposed internal tensions within the View, and its impact would resonate for weeks to come. Whoopi Goldberg, known for her poised and unshakable demeanor, suddenly went pale when the email hit the headlines. The contents were explosive. A direct reference to Karoline's growing influence and a series of derogatory comments about conservative voices in the media, some of which came directly from Whoopi herself. The media went into a frenzy. For the first time, the public saw the faces behind the veneer of daytime television. Whoopi and Joy had always been able to control their image, presenting themselves as unwavering voices of authority. Now their carefully crafted personas were shattered, and the world began to see them in a new light. The ramifications were immediate and severe. The public scrutiny ramped up. Whoopi, the seasoned host, and Joy, the quick-witted veteran, both felt the ground beneath them shift. The image they'd spent years cultivating was now at risk. Karoline's legal team pounced on the leak, using it as a catalyst to push forward with her case. The media, ever hungry for scandal, began to paint Whoopi and Joy as hypocrites, fueling a narrative that their supposed moral superiority was nothing more than a facade. Karoline, on the other hand, had found her moment of triumph. Her revelation didn't just deal a blow to Whoopi and Joy, it changed the course of the lawsuit. The public's support for Karoline surged. The underdog was now the David to the media's Goliath, and the tide was quickly turning in her favor. Karoline's revelation was a punch they never saw coming. Headlines screamed, and the impact of that punch rippled far beyond the courtroom. The truth was out there now, and the audience was watching with bated breath. The once unshakable confidence of Whoopi and Joy was replaced by vulnerability. What had started as a small legal skirmish now seemed to be spiraling out of control, and the once dominant hosts of The View were facing a reckoning that neither of them had anticipated. What had once seemed like a straightforward fight was now a full-scale war, and Karoline Leavitt was at the helm, driving the narrative forward. This twist, this sudden shift, had set the stage for a final showdown that would leave everyone questioning not only the future of The View, but the power dynamics of daytime television itself. The battle was far from over, but this moment of reckoning had already made its mark. The final blow came quickly, and Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar were no longer in control. They had fought to maintain their dominance, but Karoline Leavitt, the underdog with a sharp strategy, outsmarted them at every turn. This was the moment when the tide fully turned, and Karoline was ready to deliver the final blow. Whoopi and Joy, once confident in their untouchable status, found themselves scrambling to hold on to what little they had left. They were desperate. Their legal teams worked overtime, hoping to find any way to regain control, any loophole to prevent Karoline from finishing the job. They rushed through emergency meetings trying to shift public opinion with carefully crafted statements, but it was already too late. Karoline's moves had already gained momentum, and they couldn't stop her now. With each passing hour, the pressure mounted. Whoopi, usually the composed host, now seemed flustered, and her calm demeanor began to crack. Joy, who had always been quick with a comeback, was suddenly quiet, as the consequences of their actions loomed large. The media, once their ally, turned against them, amplifying their missteps and undermining their credibility. Then, it happened, the moment that sealed their fate. Karoline Leavitt, with her brilliant legal strategy, secured the $800 million win, and Whoopi and Joy were left with nothing but ruined reputations. In just a matter of hours, the women who had been the undeniable faces of daytime television were publicly humiliated. They could no longer rely on their fame or power to distract from their mistakes. The damage was irreversible. Karoline, on the other hand, emerged victorious. She had leveled The View. The aftermath of the lawsuit was not just a legal win, it was a personal blow to Whoopi and Joy. Their public images, which they had carefully cultivated over decades, now lay in ruins. Sponsors pulled their support, and networks began distancing themselves. The public's opinion of them shifted overnight from admiration to distrust. Whoopi and Joy were no longer the powerful hosts who controlled the conversation. They were now seen as two women trying to salvage their falling empire. The legal battle may have been over, but the personal toll on Whoopi and Joy was just beginning. Their desperation became apparent as they tried to regain control, but it was clear that they were no match for Karoline's calculated strategy. Karoline's legal team had already thought of everything. Her success wasn't just about winning the lawsuit, it was about exposing the cracks in The View's facade and showing the world that no one, no matter how powerful, is invincible. This was a cultural shift. Karoline's victory was a statement that no one could ignore. She had taken down two of the biggest names in daytime TV, and the world watched as the underdog triumphed. In the aftermath, Karoline became a symbol of resilience, a person who stood up against the odds and won, proving that determination and strategy could topple even the mightiest of empires. Whoopi and Joy were left to pick up the pieces, their reputations forever tarnished. The public scrutiny they faced continued to build, and their once unshakable power now seemed like a distant memory. The final blow was not just a legal victory for Karoline, it was a statement to the world that power could be challenged and those who once thought they were untouchable could fall. The aftermath of Karoline Leavitt's victory was nothing short of extraordinary. She quickly became the media darling everyone wanted to interview, the face of resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. As Karoline basked in her triumph, Whoopi, Goldberg and Joy Behar were left in the dust, scrambling to repair their images. The $800 million payout was just the beginning of what would likely be a long and grueling road to recovery for the hosts of The View. Their credibility had been shattered, and every public appearance now felt like a reminder of their massive fall from grace. In a matter of days, the media landscape had completely shifted. Karoline had not only won a legal battle, she had changed the entire narrative of daytime television. Her strategic brilliance and the power of her legal team had leveled the once invincible empire of The View. Meanwhile, Whoopi and Joy, once untouchable, were now forced to face the harsh reality that their carefully crafted public personas could not shield them from the consequences of their actions. Yet for all of Karoline's success, the battle was not over. The future was uncertain for both sides. Was this the end of The View? Could there be more legal challenges looming on the horizon? Was Karoline just the beginning of a wave of change that would challenge the very foundation of the show? And, perhaps most intriguingly, could Whoopi and Joy ever recover from the fallout, or had their legacies been permanently tarnished? The questions remained unanswered as the world waited for the next move. The tension was palpable, and the eyes of the public were now fixed firmly on the drama that had unfolded before them. One thing was for sure. The repercussions of this legal battle would be felt for years to come. The battle is over, but the war is far from done. The fate of Whoopi, Joy, and The View hangs in the balance, and only time will tell how this saga truly ends. To stay on top of every twist and turn, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications, because this story is still far from finished.